Hey there guys, my name is Tradgik and welcome to my first brand new vlog. For those of you who don't know me, I live and game within Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada. And I actually been doing this whole YouTube thing for quite a while, but I've kind of gone back, taken a look at some of my videos and realized that it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I figured I'd give this whole thing another shot and start off with a vlog about some of the stuff that's been going on in my life lately. Some pretty crazy things. Things have been all over the place. Honestly, it's been so chaotic that I don't even really know where to begin. But for today, I think we're going to take things simple. Because of some rather unfortunate circumstances, I've kind of left this place in a bit of a mess. And I think I need to start by just cleaning up, honestly. So let's go. All right, so here it is. This is going to be a cleanup of the majority of the apartment. As you can see, we got a lot of stuff just kicking around still. Josh likes to dry his shirts out here for some reason. And these boxes, unfortunately, will not be going anywhere today. These belong to Steph. She still needs to come and pick them up. But yeah, we do still have a lot of things that need to be tackled, like putting these away finally. At least they're folded. You know what I mean? At least they're folded. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. All right, I always find the kitchen to be the hardest spot to clean because there's so much stuff all the time. Like, we got so many extra glasses and things like that that we don't really want anything to do with. So we're probably going to take some time within like the next month or so to go through this and just get rid of a lot of them, give them to like Goodwill or something like that. And of course, everybody's bane of their existence, Tupperware. Now, I've actually managed to cut my Tupperware down quite a bit. I only have these small ones here, and it's dirty right now, but those little blue lid ones right over there. And I keep most of it up there with my stuff, but some, if you want to call it legacy Tupperware from before, it's just kind of piled, thrown in here. I need to organize this, and that's going to be fun. So here is the bedroom. It's probably really loud because that brand new AC over there is the loudest thing humanity ever created, right next to the jet engine. But yeah, I mean, it's not looking too bad. The bed's clearly not made, but I try to keep this place mainly organized as best I can. But there's still some work that needs to be done. So let's get to it.
A few moments later.
Okay, so a bit of backstory as to why I decided to go with this whole vlog format. Over the last 2 years, there's been some complications in my life, to say the least. I like to think of things as just like this massive roller coaster where things are just going up and down and up and down. And recently, I actually reached a pretty good high with some really awesome new people kind of coming into my life and being able to kind of experience some things that I had never experienced before. But I should have anticipated that, of course, things weren't always going to go exactly how I planned. And before you know it, we were nosediving again, which kind of led me right to here. The one thing that has kept me motivated and kind of kept my spirits up throughout all this is actually watching some vlogs from somebody known as Trent the Traveler. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him. Used to be known as The Fine Print here on YouTube, but he's a van life gamer who goes around all of the United States and some of Canada, just kind of showcasing his life. And I've never seen somebody who could find such positivity in the small things, and it just inspired me to kind of come back and maybe try my hand at doing something similar. Now, I know my life is not super interesting. I'm not a van lifer. Matter of fact, I'm probably one of the most boring and common people that you will ever find. If it's not work, I'm probably gaming, hanging out with some friends, watching some anime, or just really going around and doing some basic shopping. But somewhere in the midst of this entire vlog idea was just this feeling of not being alone. Now, I don't just mean for myself, but I mean for other people out there who find themselves coming home at the end of the day and not really having anybody to talk to or anything to do. I know a lot of people like to throw up some videos on their second monitor, and sometimes just watching people do things like, cook their supper for the evening or just chilling out alongside them can really mean a lot. And I had an idea to do something kind of in a broader scale than this, but after reconsidering my idea, I just don't think that the structure I had in mind would have worked for me. So instead, I kind of went back and just decided, hey, I think I'm going to do some vlogs again. So with that being said, what better place to start than getting to know each other? And that's when an old idea of mine actually came back. I used to have a video on my channel called 50 Favorites, and I will tell you right now, that video took forever, not only to make sure I had the right responses, but to sit down and edit and get everything all nice and clean for you because I love you. So this time I decided to cut it back a bit and only do 25. So here are 25 of my favorite things. Now these things can be completely random, from favorite video game to favorite music artist to all the way down to favorite painting if I wanted to. But I have chosen 25 topics that I think are a little interesting, or at the very least relatable. So I want you guys to let me know what your 25 favorites are down in the comments section below, or wherever YouTube's moved it by this point. And that way there, we'll know each other a little bit better. So let's just get right into it. Woo! All right, so first things first, you may notice I'm wearing a different shirt. One of my favorite shirts, actually, but not one of the favorite things from this list. The reason being is I needed to take a couple days to actually think about what are some of my favorite things. I think I narrowed it down quite well, so let's start with the most important topic, especially for my channel, video games. Now, my favorite game of all time is a little cult classic known as Persona 4. That's right, this little bad boy right here. I played it back on the PS2, but long after its initial release. This copy in particular is signed by Johnny Young Bosch, the voice actor who played Yu Narukami and Adachi. So this actually means a lot to me. This is probably my most prized possession in my entire collection. That's why I've got it in this glass case. But this game just had such good, wholesome, happy vibes. The entire experience was always just so bright and uplifting. Even when the topics got dark and serious, the characters were just so enjoyable. The experience was one that I will never forget, and that's why it is numero uno. But a few honorable mentions as well. There's, of course, Final Fantasy VII, a game that will always live close to my heart. The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and Tears of the Kingdom. Those games are phenomenal. As well as Soulsborne games, and Grand Theft Auto, and there's so many. Oblivion, Fallout. I mean, God, gaming is just so great, isn't it? Moving on. Now, right here we have my personal anime collection. There's actually not as many Blu-rays in here as I would like to have, but having said that, anime is something that I'm fairly new to collecting. Overall, the majority of my collection has been video games and a lot of video game merch and a lot of collector's editions, actually, that I'm starting to realize long after that I don't really need or want in my collection. So I've tried to focus more on the things that I love, and one of those things is anime and anime figures. But we haven't reached that figure part yet, so let's just talk about anime in general. What is one of my favorite animes of all time? Well, there's so many I could throw out there, Senko-san, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. There is a bunch of animes that I love, but my all-time favorite would be this one right here. Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions. I just think that overall, this is a all-in-one package of a fantastic show. You've got all kinds of comedy, action, incredible characters, and of course, Kyoto Animation, so it's absolutely beautiful. This is one I highly recommend checking out. It's also got the perfect amount of content, rounding in at about 2 full seasons and a few movies and OVAs, which is really all you kind of need to complete a full storyline. It's well worth it. Make sure to check it out, add it to your watch list. You will not regret this. All right, sticking on the topic of anime, we have anime movies, and really there's only one that stands out for me, and that is A Silent Voice. This movie will break you like 1,000 times over. I watched this with one of my friends back in the day, and once the movie started, she started crying and didn't stop for 3 hours. So it's that kind of movie. It'll pull on your heartstrings. It is a fantastic watch. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think it's on Netflix. Yeah, fantastic movie. Moving on. For this next one, I wasn't really sure what to do because I don't know if there's such a thing as a TV show anymore. So instead, I decided to do streaming services. Now, I could just pick one and be like, this is my favorite overall, but I think it's probably better if I separate it into some more like minute categories, because I love something like Arrested Development, which just so happens to be my favorite comedy ever. But I also really enjoy something like Breaking Bad. And then there's my favorite K-drama, which is Extracurricular, which, by the way, if you guys have not watched that, please go watch it. You're the reason we didn't get a second season. Sorry. I'll contain myself. But then there's also some stuff based off of manga and anime, like Alice in Borderland, which is fantastic. I actually love the live-action version of this show. So really, I'm just going to compile that all into one. So there you go. You got like 3 or 4 different favorites from me, all based around streaming services. So hopefully you appreciate that. And ignore the fact that I'm just doing that to save for time. Okay? Coming up with this stuff is hard, all right? Movies. Who doesn't love a good movie, right? I mean, you got so many good comedies, drama, action. I mean, I've loved series for so long, like the Bourne series or Old Boy, the 2003 Korean original. Fantastic movies. And, you know, I've jumped so many different genres. I've been watching a lot more K-dramas and things like that to kind of expand, you know, my library of what I've witnessed over the years to something much bigger than just the typical stuff that you see in theaters. But having said that, I do think my favorite movie of all time is probably Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I actually really enjoy this movie, and I could watch it countless times and still find more new things to love. For a long time, my favorite movie was Old Boy. I absolutely adored that movie, and it's still high up there, but there's just something about this one that I just bring people in and I'm like, you need to watch this. I know some of the things I love are trash, okay? But with that being said, the one manga that always makes me smile every single time I read a new chapter is Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. This one here is just chaotic fun, but I understand that if some people were kind of bullied back in high school, you may not be that into this, but overall, I enjoy it quite a bit. It's quite fun. And a little naughty, I'm not gonna lie. Next, we have my favorite gaming console of all time, and really it's not one console, it's more of like a generation, and that would be the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation 1 generation. I love all those games. I share so many memories with fantastic titles like Final Fantasy VII or Majora's Mask or Mystical Ninja, which is one that a lot of people have kind of completely forgot unless you're like from that era, I guess. And even then, people didn't really know much about it. But yeah, I just love that like really crappy looking crude 3D graphics and some of the stories and types of games that they came up with. They were trying to be much more creative in that era to use the hardware the best they could to create something that was, you know, mind-blowing at the time. And we ended up getting a lot of really memorable experiences, and they've also been some of the most fun consoles to collect for throughout my collection journey. So I can't disregard those ones. They're fantastic. One thing every single person in this world needs is, of course, food. And my favorite food would be breakfast food, anything like eggs, bacon, ham, sausage, all that stuff. I absolutely adore that kind of food. But the king of breakfast food would be a turkey club on a cheddar bacon bagel from Great Canadian Bagel. This thing is just mouth-wateringly good. If I could honestly grab one of these sandwiches every single day, I would, but I'm trying to watch my weight, so of course I can't keep eating so much incredibly amazing foods. Instead, I've got to settle for less amazing foods, but you know, it is what it is. My favorite time of day would probably be early morning, like right as the sun's coming up. You get a bit of that, like, whatever you call it, mist or hue or what, I can't remember what it's called, but you got that kind of like mistiness in the morning, you know what I mean? And as I said, the sun's just about to come over the ridge and the world's kind of just like waking up. You can just feel that vibe, you know, everything's coming alive. That's probably my favorite time of day. I know for a fact that I really don't like mid-afternoon, evening, because it just has this feeling of like closure, and not in like a peaceful way. It feels like you're running out of time, you know, like there's more things that you should have been able to do and you're not going to get a chance to do it today. Or, you know, that inevitably approaching bad day is coming where you're going to work or whatever, and it becomes this really like pessimistic vibe. That's why I love that early morning. There's just so much potential when you first wake up that you just don't really feel at any other time of the day. So my favorite character from any video game would probably be Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. I love his design, his character arc, his fighting style, everything about it, really. Final Fantasy VII was just such a big part of my childhood, so of course Cloud had to be there. A runner-up for other like male protagonists would be Link from The Legend of Zelda, and if you're going with female characters, I'd probably still just be Tifa from Final Fantasy VII as well. But there's so many great characters in video games. Those are just some of my favorites. So a lot of these questions, I'm actually coming up with them right on the spot, and one that I just thought of was favorite actor. And there's a bunch of actors out there that I appreciate, you know, like just seeing them always kind of makes me happy, like somebody like Keanu Reeves and stuff like that, but I don't know if I'd consider him to be like my favorite actor. One person that did come to mind just off the top of my head is probably Bill Skarsgård. I actually really like every role that he's done for the most part. But it's funny, sitting here right now, I'm like, there's somebody I'm missing. I'm sure there is. And I don't know. If I think about it by the time I get this video edited and out, I'll put an image of it right here. But for right now, I'll probably lean on Bill Skarsgård because I really do like a lot of his work. I know we don't have a lot of readers out there anymore, especially in the modern age. But if you had to ask me what my favorite book is, it is House of Leaves. I won't explain why. You just need to read it and make sure you get a physical copy for it, not like some, you know, digital version. It just won't do it justice. Get the physical copy of House of Leaves. It's pretty thick, but well worth a read. My favorite genre of game. Now that's a bit difficult. I grew up with a lot of JRPGs. I grew up with a lot of adventure games. I really enjoy open world sandboxes when they're done right, like GTA 5 type thing. But you know, it's really hard to pick one. I know the type of genre that I get really excited about oftentimes is actually puzzle games. Things like the Talos Principle or The Witness or Myst. I really enjoy those kinds of things. Some of my favorite stories in video games ever all come from graphic novels, but it's not really a genre I enjoy. So this one's kind of hard to narrow down to specifically something. I find that I am very much a flavor of the week kind of guy when it comes to games. I do think probably if I had to pick one, it's going to lean more towards just RPGs in general, because games like Fallout, Oblivion, Dark Souls, you know, Final Fantasy, Persona, those games are always at the top of my list when it comes to games that I absolutely adore. So if you're going to put a gun to my head and you're going to say pick one, it'd be RPGs. Alright, so we're reaching for ideas here, but I wanted to go with one favorite video game setting. And I know that's a bit of a strange one, but there's tons of different like maps and worlds that we've seen in games. I think everybody has one that they prefer. For me, it would be Hong Kong from Sleeping Dogs. I absolutely love the design of this city, and I'm so sad we never got a sequel. I really, really wish other games would explore this kind of region. It's just such a nice change of pace from the typical North American designs that we see in so many games. And also, like, a runner-up, of course, would be Japan, something like what you see in the Yakuza games. But I would just love to see more of these like Asian territories explored in games, especially in the modern setting. There's a lot of like, you know, ancient era feudal Japan style games, but that modern contemporary setting for places like Hong Kong, you know, South Korea, Japan, I love those kinds of settings. Favorite band. All right, favorite band is a bit tricky because my taste in music changes all the time, but one I definitely always loved, Linkin Park, of course. Yeah, rest in peace, Chester. You know, they were something that was there for me from way in the beginning. But I also really, really love Bring Me the Horizon. They've probably become my top band recently, within the last few years. And honestly, you also can't beat Electric Callboy too. I adore those guys. You need to make sure to check out some of their latest hits like Ratatatata, and of course their ultimate classic, Hypa Hypa. If you haven't, go and check those out right now. You won't regret it. Hey guys, it's Tradgik from a couple days later. As I was editing this video, I realized that even with all the production I'd put into it and all that stuff, I didn't even get close to coming up with 25 different things that I could talk about. So I found a list online and I just figured I'd run through a bunch of them right now, just rapid fire, so that way we can finish this out. So let's go right now. What is your favorite board game or card game? I don't play enough board games to really have like a good opinion on that, but my favorite card game is probably Cards Against Humanity. And I think I would really, really love Muffin Time if I could get my hands on it. What is your favorite holiday and how do you typically celebrate it? Well, my favorite holiday when I was a child was Christmas, because who doesn't like getting gifts as a kid? But then eventually it transitioned more to Canada Day of all things, because I used to hang out with tons of friends and we used to go around and do a bunch of things. That was my favorite holiday for a while. Right now, I don't think I have any. I would just say any holiday that gets me a day off work paid. What's my favorite mobile game? For a long time, it was Genshin, because I played the hell out of that. And then it was Honkai, but right now it is probably Nikkei. I actually just really enjoy the fact that you get to play as more of like the commander instead of actually having to control the characters. You can just set them to auto battle and they do their own thing. It's more like just a collect-a-thon at that point. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now. What is your favorite quote or saying? I have a different one probably every week. I've heard so many good ones over the last few years, and I'm always changing it out on Discord into the like little description box thing. The one that I heard most recently that I love is bologna is just hot dogs for people that like pancakes. Take that however you will. What was your favorite job? Well, my favorite job is probably my current job, which is game testing. I do quality assurance and stuff like that for games. But I also enjoyed my time with my friends at Hot Topic, because that was a good time. And I also enjoyed working at, back when it was EB Games, but GameStop. I worked there for a while, and that was a lot of fun too. But those are the ones that kind of come to mind. So earlier when we were talking about anime, we had brought up anime figures, and that's actually one of the big things I've been collecting over the last few years. And it's really hard to pick just one, but these are a few of the ones that kind of mean a lot to me. First off, I absolutely love this Senko-san that Steph got me a few years back, I think for Christmas. It's absolutely gorgeous. I kept it in the box. I think the box looks fantastic. It's just an overall great figure. Next up, we have Toru from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Now, I am super glad to have this in the collection. It's one of the more expensive figures I've purchased, but it's highly detailed and honestly just gorgeous. There's a bunch of other ones that I think are really cool and really well detailed, but those two kind of stand out above the rest, so I'll probably just go with those two. Who is your favorite superhero? Well, I don't know if you'd call him a superhero, but my favorite is, of course, Deadpool. I mean, I just love the comedy, fourth wall breaking. He's super strong, but he's also kind of an idiot, which makes it a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, I absolutely love Deadpool. He's probably numero uno. Favorite type of cookie? Man, I would say my favorite type of cookie is probably just a chocolate chip, but it has to be one of those like soft chew chocolate chips. You know, one of those ones that's like ooey and gooey. Like that's a good cookie. What is my favorite sport? Being Canadian, it would almost be illegal for me to say anything other than hockey. But I don't know. I always enjoyed dodgeball. I thought that was a lot of fun. And then like soccer/football. I always enjoyed that as well. Those are probably the ones that come to mind. I mean, hockey's fine too, but I don't know if you count like racing as a sport, because like if you count that, it'd probably be like racing. I absolutely enjoy games like, you know, Need for Speed and all that stuff. So I don't know. Kind of a weird question. I don't think about sports too much. What is your favorite drink? Well, I don't drink a whole lot of alcoholic beverages very often, so I don't really have a preferred thing when it comes to that. But my go-to drink is really not good for me, probably worse than alcohol, really. And that is the Mango Loco Monster. I absolutely adore Mango Loco Monster. And that's mainly because they took away a bunch of my other favorite flavors. But yeah. I also really like Peace Tea as well. These guys right here. This one's especially good, the Snowberry. And I also like the, I think it's the Raspberry one. Yeah, anyways, those are good too. So there you have it. Hopefully you all feel like you know me a little bit better. There is tons of questions on this, so I could probably do this whole thing again. But for now, I think that covers the basics. So I'm going to stop talking and let younger me carry on with the video. Alright, so there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this first vlog. I know it was a bit of a tiny and strange adventure, but hopefully you got to know me a bit better. I'm really looking forward to hearing your guys' answers down in the comments section. And yeah, I will be back really soon with some more vlog content. I have some things in mind. Some of them might be a bit more exciting than others, but I hope you'll join me nonetheless. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Thank you so much.